My objective is to teach you some things that can help you or a friend perhaps. And the greatest danger that I see is for people to have a will. A lot of people say, hey CJ, if I have a will, I'm in good shape, right? No. If you learn nothing else tonight, a will, and maybe you know somebody who had experience with a will, guarantees probate court. And that's what we want to try to avoid. Now, don't tell my daughter I said that. She's a probate lawyer in San Francisco. We are working on opposite sides of the philosophical fence. She does very well. A probate lawyer gets about 8% of your assets by filing a few papers at the probate court. So as an example, what do you think, Andrew, what's the average house, 2-bedroom, 2-bath house going for in this neighborhood? Just ballpark.
I'm gonna say 750 to 800,000.
So let's say 800,000. That's $64,000. $64,000 that your loved one is going to pay some lawyer to filing a few papers in court. Now, I don't mean to diminish their experience and their acumen and the quality of the service, but do you really need to hire a lawyer, or do your loved ones, your family members, need to hire a lawyer to file some papers in court? So problem number one with having a will, the expense, 8%. Do you think it's going to go down in time? No, that rate is going to go up. Judges are what? Former lawyers, right? And do judges have friends with current lawyers? Do they go golfing with them? Yes. So it's up to the judges to encourage the legislature to increase the fees for their buddies. So at no time is this percentage going down, right? It's going to be going up. Let's just say conservatively 8%, right? 8%, $64,000 for your loved ones. The other problem with having a will going through probate is the delay. How long does it take to get your loved ones, your property after you pass away if you go through probate court? 2 to 3 years on the average. Let's say you have a child who has special needs, right? And they can't take care of themselves. What are they going to do if they're kind of desperate for you to take care of them as your parent? Can they wait 2 or 3 years to buy their medication? Can they wait 2 or 3 years to get their physical therapy taken care of? I don't think so. This is an immediate need. That's why if you have a trust, upon the death of both trustees, the property automatically goes to the people that you care about. There's no 2 to 3 year waiting period. So number one, you avoid the cost of hiring a probate lawyer. Number two, the property goes quickly. And this is not a huge concern for everybody, but your property remains private. Some people care about that. Some of my higher net worth individuals, they don't want to disclose what the value of their house is, right? I got a house in Calabasas that's worth $8 million. I don't want anybody to know about that. In a trust, everything remains private. It's a contract between you and your beneficiaries. So CJ, what do I do with this trust after you create it for me? You put it in a fireproof safe deposit box and you give a copy to your alternate trustee. Do not give it to your beneficiaries. Let's say you love Sally, who's your daughter, and you also love your son, Brian. But you're giving Brian 70% of your assets, and you're giving your daughter 30%. Do you really want them to know about that when you're alive? Do you want them fighting with each other and fighting with you? I don't think so. So you want to keep your affairs private, and the only people you want to share your trust with, of course, is your spouse and your alternate trustee. Don't give it to your kids. Put a fireproof safety deposit box. Now, of course, we also keep a hot copy on our hard drive, but who's to say there couldn't be a fire in my office? Do fires ever happen in LA? No, never. Right? Mark can tell you better about that as far as, coverage for the fire insurance. But suffice it to say, don't share that trust with too many people. Now, CJ, isn't it a fact that you record your trust with the county recorder's office? And doesn't it become public? Absolutely not. The only thing that you're going to record at the county recorder's office, like the one down in Van Nuys that I go to, I have a friend there who gets me booked into an appointment very quickly, all right? I don't have to stand in line for 2 hours like my clients would. The only thing I'm taking down to the county recorder's office are 2 pieces of paper. Or if you have more pieces of property, of course. But if you have one house, what am I taking down to the county recorder's office? The quitclaim deed and the preliminary change of ownership. That does not disclose your assets, right? That does not tell anybody the nature of your trust. I had a client who came to me about 6 months ago and said, CJ, I went to Century City and I met with this fancy law firm in this high-rise building. Okay, I'm in a high-rise building, but they asked, Dolores, how much money do you have in the bank? Fill out the sheet. How many houses do you own? Well, Dolores, after she filled out the piece of paper, turned out she was worth about $5 million. So the lawyer said, yeah, Dolores, I'd love to do a trust for you. It's going to be $25,000. What? Do you know how long it takes to create a trust? About 6 hours. So let's say you have a high-priced lawyer who charges $500 an hour. That's $3,500 if I'm doing my math correctly, right? We never charge people for a trust based on their value of their estate or how much money they have in the bank. It takes me the same amount of time to do a trust for somebody who's struggling to pay their bills, right? As it is for a multimillionaire. We charge less than $2,000. So the question I ask people, would you rather pay less than $2,000 today to have a trust or have your children pay $80,000 to some lawyer to file a few papers? It's your choice. The other thing people say, CJ, when do I create a trust? I don't know, when do I do this? I don't know. Are you in touch with God on a frequent basis? Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? Because I don't. When do people have life insurance? When do you wake up in the morning and say, hey, Bob, I need life insurance. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Now, some triggers that come up in life, if you're going to have a surgery, you got married, you got divorced, you bought a new house, you sold your house, you're going on vacation. Those are obvious triggers. But why not plan ahead? Because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know. I'd like to know, but I'm not that privileged. I'm not a prophet. I don't talk to God. And lately he hasn't been talking to me either. So I don't know, right? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's why we need to plan today. All right, so the benefits of a trust, of course, private, no delay in getting the money to your beneficiaries, and you're going to save money, right? Over a will. Will's expensive. It's public too. Everybody's going to find out about your personal affairs when you create that will. CJ, are there different kinds of trusts? I thought trusts were only for rich people, right? No. No. Trusts are for people who love their kids. CJ, if my husband passes away, am I going to have to go through probate? No. The trust becomes effective when both husband and wife die. Right? Nothing happens until both of the original trustees pass away. Then why do they call it a living trust? It only gets triggered upon the death of both trustees. Why don't they call it a dying trust? It should be called something else. A living trust is a misnomer. But simply stated, the two major kinds of trust are the living revocable trust and an irrevocable trust. What's the difference? A revocable trust you can change as many times as you want. All right? My mother, she gets into fights with my sister every couple months. CJ, I just got into a fight with your sister. Can you amend my trust again? Can you take her out? I'm going to give all my money to ABC Charity. It's like, okay, Mom, if that's what you want, I'd be glad to do it. But I know you're going to be putting my sister back in the trust in 2 months, but if you want me to do it, I will. Yeah, I'm mad at her. Take her out. Okay. No problem. Easily changed. Revocable trust you can change as many times as you want. An irrevocable trust is very difficult to change. You have to go to court to change it. Now, here's the crazy thing. The irrevocable trust works during your lifetime. Okay, now what does that mean? Let's say, and I got a horror story, I have a friend who's a wealthy plastic surgeon in Northern California. It's a place called Blackhawk. Anybody here ever heard of that? It's kind of like the Beverly Hills of Northern California. Very high end. The houses are, you can't buy a house there for under $5 million. Beautiful golf course, great community, really great place. And in any event, somebody told him, doctor, you should create an irrevocable trust. You'll save money on taxes because it's going to take your $6 million mansion out of your taxable estate, and you're going to have great asset protection because if somebody sues you for medical malpractice, they're not going to be able to take your house because you don't own it anymore. Now, is that really asset protection? If I don't own property anymore, how am I protecting my property? It's not my property anymore. It belongs to somebody else. Because during my lifetime, I created an irrevocable trust which automatically transferred that property to my daughter and my son. So what's the risk of that? The risk of that is that your son or your daughter, who you love, and you made them a beneficiary under your irrevocable trust, they can evict you from your house. They now own the house, equitably, legally. They can encumber the house. They can move people in the house that are nuts and make noise. This is not a good thing. Now, yes, the irrevocable trust does save you money on taxes because you're no longer going to be taxed on that house, but you don't own it. It's not yours. So why do the irrevocable trust? It is way too risky. Way too risky. Every client I've ever talked to that had a lawyer create an irrevocable trust for them, CJ, how do I get out of this thing? Get me into a revocable trust. I'm really scared because my neighbor's son is threatening to evict them from their house. Scary thing. So CJ, I want to protect my assets, but I don't want an irrevocable trust. What can I do? Let's go back. Let's go backwards just a little bit. CJ, in what cases do I not really need a trust or a will? Life insurance policy. You already have a pre-designated beneficiary, right, Mark? You've done life insurance before. Doesn't go through probate, does it? It goes directly to your beneficiary upon your death. A POD account at the bank, payable upon death. Go into Wells Fargo. Make your daughter the beneficiary of your payment on death account, POD. Is that going to go through probate? No, it's going to go directly to her upon your death. Andrew, what about joint tenants with rights of survivorship? What did we learn in real estate school about that?
Pretty much whoever's the surviving member gets the entire portion of the house.
Absolutely. And they don't have to go to court. It's automatic, right? Party A and Party B are joint tenants with rights of survivorship. That's got to be on the deed, those exact words. Joint, not just joint tenants, that's something else. Joint tenants with rights of survivorship means one joint tenant with the right of survivorship passes away. The surviving party owns the entire property without going to court, without going through probate. You don't need a trust. So in those cases, a life insurance policy with a pre-designated beneficiary, joint tenants with rights of survivorship, POD account. Andrew.
So even though those don't need a trust, is it still like a good idea to put those in the trust so the trust can kind of like say like if we want it split certain ways and in case there's those weird discrepancies that
If you're going to create a trust anyhow, absolutely. Now, if you're not motivated to create a trust, keep it the way it is. But if there's other property that's not structured like that, like let's say you own a house in Calabasas and it's owned by John and Mary Smith, a husband and wife, put that in the trust, of course. Even if I have another property that I own as a joint tenant with rights of survivorship, I'm already going to create the trust, so why not put it in as just a fail-safe move? Another opportunity for asset protection, particularly for small businesses, is the LLC or the corporation. A sole proprietorship doesn't make it. The other great thing about a legal entity, thanks to Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, when he was in office the first time, he created something called the QBI. Anybody heard of it? Qualified Business Income. If you have a legal entity, S Corp, C Corp, LLC, now you get a 20% haircut on your taxable income. What does that mean? Jess, you made $100,000 last year in your business, right?